The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hello and welcome to the box score breakdown for December 25th, 2018. I am your host, Neil Rochlani. Once again, solo. Going through the pod as Adrian has much more of a holiday festivity engagements that I do. So I'm here. I'm able to go through it. I'm going to do the 5 games here on Christmas. Hopefully everyone had a nice Christmas. By the time you listen to this, I imagine it's over. So enjoy the rest of your holiday season and the fantasy week. Kind of a strange one with the games being absent yesterday. Tonight, 5 games on the slate, and we'll go through each of them. I'm going to start off, though, by just mentioning really quickly our sponsor for today and always, well, at least until things change, is Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee, makers of fantastic coffee, I have been told. I will be experiencing it one day. But they are available on Amazon and their website as well, which is hawaiianisles.com. Check them out if you are inclined to do so. All right, I am going to hop right into the 5 games of the evening, starting off with our opening game. Actually, I'm going to check my feed just once again for anything else that I want to see in terms of injury news. I know there were obviously LeBron. We'll get to that when we get to the Lakers game, but nothing else here I'm going to talk about in terms of injuries or other changes to the fantasy landscape. So let's hop into the Milwaukee Bucks versus the New York Knicks. This one, I think a lot of us could see coming, with Giannis having a stellar game as he led them with 30 points, 14 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 of 21 shooting, 4-7 from the free throw line, no three-pointers, 4 steals, 2 blocks, 2 turnovers. Just a phenomenal game. Single-handedly seemed to take it over. Next up, I'll get to 20 points by Brook Lopez. 29 minutes, 20 points, 4 rebounds on 5 of 10 shooting. 9 of 9 from the free throw line. Lopez has been solid there his entire career. And tonight, perfect from the free throw line. He did have a 3-pointer and 2 blocks, a rare combination of blocks and 3-pointers for him and his stat set, and a turnover tonight. Next, move on to Eric Bledsoe. Played 29 minutes, 11 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists on 4 of 8 shooting. 3 or 4 from the free throw line and a steal, 2 turnovers. Malcolm Brogdon in 27 minutes, 17, 6, and 4. He's had a phenomenal season, up to 71st in per game basis. I knew coming into the season that the approach with Budenholzer will be more of a team approach, and guys like Brogdon might benefit from that, less of a superstar approach. And it's paid off. I didn't think it would be this high for sure, but 71st is phenomenal for him. 7 of 14 from the field, 2 of 2 from the free throw line, a 3-pointer, 3 steals, 2 turnovers. Middleton, he has not been doing as well as I'd expect. He is currently dropped down to 50th on a per game basis. I would say buy low for sure if you can get him. 6 points, 6 rebounds tonight, 3 assists on 2 of 12 shooting. 1 3-pointer, 1 steal, no turnovers. He is shooting 41% on the year, which is lower than what I expect. But I think it will. I don't think it can get much worse. I don't think he's going to drop below 40%. I think he's more of a mid-40 shooter, and I think this number is probably a floor for his field goal percent, and that is the one category where that's sort of dragging down his player rating the most. So if this stabilizes, this would be his low point. If it gets better, he'll bounce back up. I doubt you can get him for 50th, but if you can get him for 40th, that'd still be worth it as well. Off the bench, George Hill played 28 minutes, 5 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. Has not worked his way into any fantasy relevancy since making the move over to the Bucks. Thon McCurr, 15 minutes, 12-3, and 2 blocks. A nice line from him. It's just happened so rarely. Tony Snell, 14 minutes. Sterling Brown, 14 as well. And DJ Wilson plays 15 minutes and goes for 5, 3, and 0 with a steal, no blocks, no turnovers. Moving on to the New York side. Let's start with Kevin Knox. I think he's the most interesting player on this team. He was someone I was very worried about for a couple reasons. Primarily, not sure what New York was going to do with their lineups. They've changed more often than we can really count on. This has seemed to stabilize. Knox seems to be permanently in there. My second worry about Knox is his ability to make baskets at an efficient rate. On the season, he's 38% from the field, 68% from the free throw line. Recently, he's been a lot better than that. And I tried to pick him up in a league, did not get him. I think he's worth, even over the last month, he's 175th in a per game basis. In the last 2 weeks, he's 112th. So even with this flourish of scoring and shooting the ball well, 44% in the last 2 weeks, 73% from the free throw line last 2 weeks. Very respectable numbers there in terms of certainly not being punt-worthy percentages. Getting 2.6 3-pointers, 5 rebounds a game, 19.6 points, 1.3 assists, 0.6 steals, 0.4 blocks. And even with all that, still 112 in A category league. So despite what looks like to be some really great fantasy lines, he still hasn't lived up to a top 100 ranking. I do think this is possible. I think a low-end starter's numbers is good, and certainly if you need points, and that's really hard to find until guys start to replace starters and play as teams tank. I don't know if he's available in your leagues. I'd still be a little wary. I wouldn't try to rush out and trade for him if you need someone and someone's willing to trade like a 8th or 9th round player for him. I don't think he's going to get that high. But I think 100 to 120 is where he's going to be, or he could be. And if his percentages do dip down again, he will fall outside fantasy relevancy. But right now on a hot streak, so I think continue to play him if you have him. Noah Vonleh tonight played 33 minutes, 14 points, 15 rebounds, and 4 of 8 shooting, 5 of 6 from the line. Good for him there. Usually not a good free throw shooter. 5 of 6 from the line, 1 3-pointer, 2 blocks, no turnovers. Enes Kanter, very quiet game, 12, 6, and 1, 4 of 8 shooting, 3 of 3 from the line, a 3-pointer and a steal. Manuel Mudiay, 11, 3, and 5, 5 of 14 shooting, a 3-pointer and a steal. Tim Hardaway Jr., 14, 10, and 3. Just one of these tough nights for him, shooting 4 of 18. Bucks have a pretty good perimeter defense, 5 of 6 from the free throw line, a 3-pointer and a steal. Yeah, the two guys that I am trusting the most here in New York, as it has been all season, is Kanter and Hardaway, although Hardaway's field goal percentage is the one thing that brings him down the most. Vonleh, 119 in a per-game basis in ACAT over the season since he's sort of taken a bigger role and been more consistent the last 2 weeks. He's still not much better. He's actually a little bit worse, 143 in the last 2 weeks. So I thought he might have some value. He certainly's got minutes. He certainly can rebound. He can certainly block. Field goal percentage has been disappointing. You expect him to shoot pretty well from the field given his at-close range shots, 47% on the year, but the last couple weeks just 40%. And his blocks under 1 per game, at least on a per-season basis. So Expect him to maybe get a little better, but again, kind of like Knox, I think he's probably 100 to 120 is what you can maybe get out of him rest of season. Let's go on to their bench. Tonight, Damian Dotson played 19 minutes. Alonzo Trier, 18. Cornette, 14. Burke, 14. No one there really to talk too much about in terms of stat lines tonight or stat lines going forward. The one person who is out that people have seemed to be targeting or at least have on the radar is Mitchell Robinson. I am not big on him. Mainly because his free throw percent is so horrendous, 53%. He doesn't do anything outside block. Even his rebounds have not been great. 4 rebounds in 17 minutes. If he was getting 15 rebounds a game, maybe, and 2+ blocks, and with the high field goal percentage, although on a very low volume, might be worth it, but I don't see it. Future fantasy value maybe in future years, but rest of the season, I'm staying away from him. And that is going to be it for Game 1. Go on to Game 2. We had Oklahoma City against Houston. Pretty exciting, close game here. If you watched it, you know that James Harden played pretty well. But we'll start on the OKC side. The visitor team, Paul George, the best player. Fantasy-wise, at least on this team, no. I'm not going to get an argument about reality-wise, although I think it's still Paul George. Overall, 5th in a per-game basis in ACAT. That is just phenomenal. His field goal percent is 45%. That was the one thing I was worried about this season, being a drag. Has not been that much of a drag at all. 28 points tonight, 14 rebounds, 2 assists on 10 of 25 shooting. 4-4 from the free throw line. He's always been a great foul shooter. 4 3-pointers, 3 steals, 4 turnovers. Russell Westbrook, 21 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists on 6 of 20 shooting. 7 attempts from the line, 2 3-pointers, 4 steals, and a block, 6 turnovers. Steven Adams, 17 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. As usual, very good field goal percentage, 8 of 11 tonight. A free throw on 2 attempts and a steal. No blocks this evening or this afternoon. Jeremy Grant had a really solid night. He's someone who I have not been too into, and I know fantasy numbers kind of bear it out. He's 111 on a per-game basis in ACAT. I just worry about him going through some really cold streaks. Very low usage streaks. Tonight, not the case. 15 points, 9 rebounds on 7 of 13 shooting. A 3-pointer, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. And that, when he does that, it becomes, you can see why people are excited about his value. Terrence Ferguson, 24 minutes, 8, 1, and 0. No steals and a block. Off the bench, Dennis Schroeder continuing to be fantasy relevant. 10 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, a steal, and a block. Let's see, who else do we have here? Noel just played 11 minutes. Not much fantasy value. Currently outside the top 150. Hamidou Diallo outside the top 300. But he did play 13 minutes, got 6, 3, and 1. He has potential to be a pretty good NBA player. We'll see how it works out for him next season. Not much to talk about here on the OKC side that I haven't already mentioned. Schroeder continues to be fantasy worthwhile, which I did not see coming on 29 minutes a game. Jeremy Grant, if he could do this every night, he would be way inside the top 100. But like I said, he has some slow nights that keep him right around 110 for this season. And I think that's pretty much where you can expect him going forward. On the Houston side, we have James Harden with 41 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 15 of 35 shooting, 6 of 7 from the line, 5 3-pointers, 2 steals, 1 block, 6 turnovers. Clint Capella, 16 points, 23 rebounds. Monster game from him. 3 assists, 8 of 15 from the field, 0 for 1 from the line, 1 steal, 1 block. Eric Gordon, 17, 6 and 4 and 7 of 18 shooting, a steal and a block. PJ Tucker, 11, 7 and 0, 1 3-pointer, 2 steals. Austin Rivers joining the Rockets, getting out there for 31 minutes, which I don't think is all that unusual. I think this could be what he gets in terms of minutes. I don't think it's going to be necessarily always this high, but I think high 20s is very reasonable, and 31 tonight. A little bit above that, but nothing too crazy. Coming off the bench, 10 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. He only took 6 shots, which I was very surprised. I did not think Austin could contain himself in such a high octane offense. Did have an assist, 2 3-pointers he made out of 3 attempts, no defensive stats. I do not think he's going to be worth owning. We don't see too many wings here having value in Houston, and Austin Rivers. If he was a sharpshooter, I would continue. I would maybe target him, but he's not. He's not historically not a great 3-point shooter or long-range shooter, and so that I think will be his best value if that would turn around, and I just don't see it happening this year. Gerald Green plays 20 minutes, and then A plays 17 minutes off the bench. Daniel House had 25 minutes starting, 9 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. I think I forgot to mention him. And Eric Gordon, like we've talked about before, major disappointment, 180 in a per-game basis in 8 category leagues. It doesn't look like he is going to really improve that much this year. Still possible, but he's just been shooting 37% from the field, which is killing him. And while that could change a bit, I don't see it getting a lot better anytime soon. So no rush to pick him out. Maybe a streamer if you need in a points leagues format. All right, on to the third game of the day, a game that I did not see, Philadelphia against Boston. Went to overtime. Was curious to see how this would play out with Jimmy Butler now playing for Philly. Was not there the last time they went up there to the Garden. Butler tonight had 24 points, played 43 minutes, 24 points on 9 of 21 shooting, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 3-pointers, 3 steals, 4 turnovers. Embiid, just a beast, 34 points, 16 rebounds, 2 assists on 10 of 17 shooting, 12 of 12 from the free throw line, 2 3-pointers and 2 blocks. Did have 6 turnovers. Ben Simmons, another double-double, 11, 14, and 8 on 4 of 9 shooting, 3 of 7 from the line. That is just something I do not understand. I got to imagine he improves this over his career at some point, but it's just 2 seasons in. It's still a very poor free throw percentage. No steals, no blocks tonight, 4 turnovers. Wilson Chandler, 15, 5 and 3, 5 of 11 shooting, 2 of 2 from the line, 3 3-pointers. J.J. Redick, 17, 3 and 0, 5 of 16 shooting, and 3 of 5 from the line. So both of those were bad on percentages. Did make 4 3-pointers and a steal and a block. Off the bench, T.J. McConnell, 2, 6 and 7. With a steal and a block, Muscala plays 17 minutes, goes for 3 and 0. Landry Shamet, 14 minutes. Korkmaz, 10 minutes. Yeah, not much to talk about here. We know the big 3 plus Redick kind of hanging around. And that's it. You know, it takes really an injury or someone to sit for someone else to have value. Wilson Chandler has still not been able to do a whole lot despite getting the starter's role, and is able to spread the floor and get plenty of attempts up. Tonight he got 11 along with 2 free throws, but he is still 164 on a per-game basis in ACAT, and over the last month averaging just 8 points a game on 29 minutes. I mean, that points could definitely go up into double digits, low points. I mean, low teens even, maybe 13, 12, something like that. But I don't think it's going to be enough to get him inside the top 125 this season. On to the Celtics. We have Kyrie Irving with 40 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists on 17 for 33 from the field, 1 of 1 from the line, 5 3-pointers, a steal, 2 turnovers. Jason Tatum, double-double with 23 points, 10 rebounds, 1 assist on 7 of 18 shooting, 8 of 9 from the free throw line, a 3-pointer, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. Marcus Morris, 23 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists on 8 of 13 shooting, 4 of 4 from the line, 3 3-pointers, and a block. Al Horford played 30 minutes, 4, 9, and 5 on 2 of 10 shooting. Missed all his 3-pointers, had a steal. Marcus Smart in 30 minutes, 6, 4, 3 with 2 3-pointers and a steal. Off the bench, Hayward plays 28 minutes, but a very quiet night. 5 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist on 2 of 6 shooting. 1 of 2 from the line, 2 steals, no 3-pointers. Daniel Tice, 6, 7, and 2 on 2 of 7 shooting. 1 3-pointer. Jaylen Brown plays 20 minutes, goes for 4, 3, and 2. Terry Rozier plays 20 minutes as well, goes for 10, 5, and 1, along with 2 3-pointers. Boston, as we know, is a very deep team. With a lot of quality players. We talked about how we trust Kyrie, and he is now into the top 10, at least over the last month. I think full season he is 11, so just outside the top 10 on a per-game basis. I think that is over and above his draft value from what I remember. I remember him going in the late second round in most of my leagues. But we know the potential was always there for Kyrie if he could take 33 shots a night like he did today. And he's shooting a phenomenal rate on the season, 48%. And just to be clear, he's averaging 18 shots a night. But when he takes 33, it's going to help. And he makes half of them. It just continues to help his fantasy value. Horford is clocking in at 54 on a per-game basis, a little bit lower than he has in previous years, but not unexpected. Tatum 58th. I think that is actually not that bad. I thought he'd be a little bit lower. I thought he'd be around 60 to 70. So 58th is pretty good. Marcus Morris. This is the one where I think if he's out there, which he may not be anymore, he's 86th overall on a per-game basis in ACAT leagues, 45th over the last month. So he's probably been snatched up in your league, but he is someone who I think can hover as a late round value. Now that he's getting the starter's role and starter's minutes, it looks like Hayward is going to come off the bench. Jaylen Brown as well. That's been the case. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But right now, I am trusting Marcus Morris to be fantasy viable rest of the season. 45th of the last month is ridiculous. He's shooting 52% from the field and 93% from the free throw line. Those two things are not sustainable when he's taking a bunch of 3-pointers. 6 rebounds seems a little high to me as well, although he is a good rebounder, so that may not come down much. The 1.9 assists over the last month, I think that is okay. The 0.5 steals could actually go up. 0.3 blocks seems okay. 2.5 3-pointers, a little high, but not crazy high. The 17 points, maybe a little high as well. I would say more around 14 to 16 range. So I think he's going to be 75th, would be my guess, rest of the season. If he's continuing to start and play tonight, 37 minutes in overtime. So let's say he's playing 32, 31 minutes. We never know with Boston as the rotation can switch a bit. And it's hard to know where the stats will come from night to night. So we'll have some off nights. But I think 75th to 80th, something like that, rest of the season is a fair value. So you can pick him up if he's out there. If not, maybe trade. If someone has him and is willing to trade for someone and he doesn't really believe in him. Not that you should believe too strongly in him, but he definitely has value. All right, on to the most surprising game of the day, at least from my perspective. The Lakers 127, Golden State 101. Start with LeBron James. Start with his stat line. 17 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists on 6 of 11 shooting. Just 21 minutes tonight before getting injured. 5 of 8 from the free throw line. A steal, no blocks, 2 turnovers. He did injure his groin. It looks like it's going to have an MRI tomorrow. We'll see if it's anything long-lasting. You know, he is an Iron Man. We never expect LeBron to go out for a significant time in injury, so hopefully if he does miss some time, it is limited. But at this point, I don't have much of an indication of what it's going to be. It didn't look terrible. He looked like he was in pain, but he was able to kind of get around. So very superficially, hopefully it's not a long-term injury, but I guess we'll know more tomorrow. Kyle Kuzma continues to play great in a starting role, 31 minutes, 19 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 6 of 14 shooting, 2 of 6 from the free throw line. No defensive stats tonight. 2 of 6 from the three-point land, 5 of 7 from the free throw line. Ivica Zubac. He has been phenomenal since coming in and replacing the pneumonia-stricken JaVale McGee. Oh, God. Zubac tonight, 18 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, 9 of 10 from the field, 2 blocks, and a turnover. I'm just going to look at his last week numbers. He is number 17 in an 8-category basis. I don't know if many people have rushed out to pick him up. I have not seen him picked up in every place. Certainly he has, but it's not like people have sprinted out for him. And I don't know what's going to happen when McGee gets back. I mean, McGee is clearly not someone who's going to play more than 24 or 25 minutes per average. We know Tyson Chandler's there, but Zubac is proving that he's a good player. And tonight getting 31 minutes. I don't know how many minutes he needs to be fantasy worthy. I'm going to guess it's in the low 20s to get those rebounds, blocks, field goal percentage. You know, he's shooting 78% from the field, which probably is not sustainable by any measure. You can count on someone. By example, McGee for the year is shooting not nearly as high as that. On the full season, McGee is shooting 62%. So let's put him around there. That will certainly hurt his 17th per game ranking over the last week. But if for some reason McGee were to be out for an extended period of time, or actually any game that he's starting, Zubac should be starting in your lineup, especially if you're in a games cap position where you can plug in a guy and you want a good line night. There's no reason not to think he won't have a decent line every night. Obviously, it may not be great, but he's doubled consistently. His field goal percentage there, his blocks are strong. He doesn't hurt you in free throw percentage. 75%, just taking one attempt a game, so that's fine. I don't think if James is out for a while, it's going to help his numbers. If anyone, it will help. Maybe Josh Hart gets some more run, but not sure how that's going to play out anyway. So Zubac should be streamed until he is no longer starting, and then maybe even held on to in case. Certainly, as a handcuff for McGee, it seems to be the case. And McGee, we know, isn't the healthiest person. Hopefully, this pneumonia isn't related to his asthma issues. It's not like a compounding effect. I don't really know, though. We'll see if and when he comes back. I should say, well, he will come back, but if he comes back next game, how many minutes he'll play, and if something like this is something he's more susceptible to because of his already health issues. So Zubac should be watched for longer term and owned immediately until he's no longer starting. Other players will be on this team. Lonzo Ball, 6 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists on 2 of 6 shooting. 1 3-pointer. Brandon Ingram, 14, 2 and 2. On 4 of 9 shooting, 5 of 6 from the line, a 3-pointer. Josh Hart, coming off the bench, 29 minutes, 12 points, 1 rebounds, no assists on 4 of 9 shooting, 2 3-pointers, a steal and a block. Caldwell Pope gets 26 minutes, just 9, 3 and 1 on 4 of 6 shooting, a 3-pointer, a steal. Rondo coming back and playing very well. This is the one that is going to hurt Lonzo Ball owners, splitting the minutes essentially right down the middle. 15 points for Rondo, 10 assists on 5 rebounds, 6 of 11 shooting, 2 of 2 from the line, a 3-pointer, no defensive stats from tonight. Rondo is not someone I'm looking to pick up unless Ball is injured, but nights like this are possible. If you're in a 14-team league, I think you start looking at him there to pick up and to run with. But anything fewer than that, I'm staying away unless he were to get back into the starting lineup, which is possible, I guess, if James is out. They could go with a smaller lineup on the wings. On the Golden State side, just not a great performance from really anyone tonight in terms of the intensity that I expected from Golden State. Durant did play 37 minutes, 21, 7 and 7 on 5 of 13 shooting, perfect from the line, 8 of 8, 3 3-pointers and a steal. Steph Curry, 37 minutes as well, 15, 1 and 5, 5 of 17 shooting, struggled tonight, 2 3-pointers and a steal. Draymond Green, 25 minutes, 4, 5 and 5, 3 steals, 4 turnovers, fouled out in just 25 minutes. Kevon Looney, 27 minutes, 10, 5 and 2 on 5 of 9 shooting. Klay Thompson, 33 minutes tonight, 5, 3 and 3. Just took 7 shots, 2 of 7 from the field, and a single 3-pointer. Off the bench, Iguodala had the best line. Not the best, but a very good line. 23 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists on 9 of 12 shooting, 2 of 2 from the line, 3 3-pointers. Sean Livingston played 15 minutes. Antonio McKinney, 13. Jerebko, 12. Jordan Bell got 7. Most of that late in garbage time. And it's weird to think there was garbage time on the road at one point. The Lakers led by 31, I believe, here in the fourth quarter. Just a great performance by them. They have been really rolling. We'll see what happens when with the LeBron status again. But on to the Golden State side, I'm not sure we can take much away from this. They have been known to be a little out of sorts this year with some injuries, and then they've certainly some locker room issues in terms of either real or media created. I don't know, but there seems to be a little bit of tension there. Gosh, I don't know. I think I don't know about buying low on Draymond. That's the one thing I'm trying to think through here. He's 42nd on a per game basis. We've seen year after year he's much better than this. We've got Cousins coming in at some point within the next month, probably closer to 2 weeks, if the reports are accurate. I don't think I'd buy low on him. I think 42nd might be where Draymond is this year. Same with Klay Thompson at 51st. I think that is not all that off what his final season total is going to be. So no moves to make here. Let's go on to the final game of the day, and that is Portland at Utah. Utah gets the win in a pretty convincing fashion, at least at the end there, 117-96. Start with the Portland side with Damian Lillard. 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists on 9 of 21 shooting. 2 3-pointers and a block. CJ McCollum continues his struggles. this season. Just 11 points on 4 of 14 shooting, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 of 4 from the line. That's also a little disheartening. A 3-pointer, a steal, and a block, 4 turnovers. Jusuf Nurkic, 7 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists on 3 of 10 shooting, 1 of 2 from the line, a steal and a block. Maurice Harkless, someone I am watching and have no reason to do with more than that right now. 25 minutes, 6 points, 4 rebounds, no assists, 2 of 8 from the field, 2 of 4 from the line, and a steal. Al-Farouq Aminu plays 33 minutes, goes for 11, 7, and 3 of 3 of 6 shooting, 2 3-pointers, 3 steals. Off the bench, Myers Leonard, 19 minutes, 7, 4, and 1. No defensive stats. Evan Turner, 12, 3, and 2 with no defensive stats or 3-pointers. Seth Curry plays 15 minutes. Zach Collins, 15. Stauskas gets 12 minutes off the bench as well. This Portland team is their record is I don't know. They're not as good as their record is my hunch. They're a pretty good out west, but I feel like they can kind of lose to anyone and kind of beat anyone. So they're kind of hard for me to gauge. But I think in a playoff series, I would not bet on them. But going back to fantasy value, Damian Lillard has been exceptional this season, 11th overall on a per-game basis in 8 category leagues. Nurkic is actually their second best fantasy player at 59th in 8 category leagues. McCollum, 75th, certainly someone we expect that's about 7th round value, I guess. And we expect him to be more like 4th round value, 5th round value at the worst case scenario. So surprising to see this year. And it seems his woes are just continuing. I don't know if it's a lingering injury issue. That's not disclosed. He doesn't look like they're the same person this year on the court as we have seen in prior seasons. So I wouldn't be surprised if something comes out after the season. But nothing really reported right now. Aminu, 127th, not picking him up. Harkless watching, but he's nowhere near even deep league value. 232 on the season on a per game basis. In the last month, where he's kind of gotten some more time, he is still 204. So you'd have to be very deep leagues to even consider him. On to the Utah side. Led tonight by Donovan Mitchell. 19 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists on 8 of 18 shooting. Struggled, though, from the line. 1 of 4, 2 3-pointers, and a steal. 2 turnovers. Rubio, 14, 3, and 6. 5 of 11 from the field. 2 of 3 from the line. 2 3-pointers, 2 steals, and a block. A great all-around night for him. Did have 5 turnovers. Rudy Gobert, 18 and 13, 7 of 9 shooting, 4 of 9 from the line. That continues to be his Achilles heel. But a phenomenal 7 blocks, 1 steal, and 3 turnovers. Joe Ingles had a solid line for him, 15 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 6 of 9 from the field, 3 3-pointers. No defensive stats. Derek Favors gets the start, plays 19 minutes, 7, 10, and 3. No steals, no blocks. Off the bench, Crowder gets 28 minutes, 12, 4, and 1, 3 of 10 shooting, 4 or 5 from the line, 2 3-pointers. No defensive stats. Kyle Korver plays 21 minutes, and Dante Exum plays for 17, goes for 15, 2, and 4, on 7 of 9 shooting. 1 for 1 from 3-point land. Looking at the Jazz, it's really been disappointment for Donovan Mitchell this year. 89th over the last month in ACAT leagues. 68th for the season. I would be very surprised if he gets wherever his draft value is, but I don't know what you do with him. I think if you own him, you really can't. It's really hard to give away value or give away perceived value. So you're not going to get 3rd round value for him. You're not going to get 4th round value unless someone is just really not paying attention in your league. So do you give him up for maybe a round or 2 value, thinking he stays here and so you can get someone better. It's hard to do knowing that his potential is always going to be there to really kick it into high gear. And if that happens, that regret will kick in. So it's hard to make that move. I'm not sure I would do it if I owned him, but that might be the smart thing to do if you can take the emotion out of it. Let's see. Favors. The other thing to watch is Favors versus Crowder. They're both sharing time starting and sharing minutes as the sort of fifth or sixth person on the team. And tonight, Favors got the start but played fewer minutes. It's really going to be matchup dependent. Over the course of the season, Favors is 110 on the season. Crowder is 152 over the last month. It's Favors 120, Crowder 138. So both are right on the fringe. Unfortunately, they're averaging just about the same amount of minutes. So low 20s to mid 20s. I'm just going to not take a stab at either one. And unfortunately, just look at the big four as fantasy options on this team. All right, that will do it for us tonight, or do it for me, I should say, since I've been going solo here. We will be back tomorrow night. I am trusting that Adrian, party monster that he is back in his household and taking care of his family and has time to do a show with me. Back on regular schedule. We'll be back on as long as there are basketball games. We'll be on. So thanks for listening. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, my handle is @ballwithneil, BALLWITHNEIL. Questions, comments, criticisms, any feedback, appreciate it. Again, our sponsor for this show is Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee, and we still have a membership guide available. So this is when things start to change a bit, especially once we get into the new year. We'll see tanking teams roll out players that may not add a lot of value to their winning percentage, but do so in terms of fantasy. The premium guide will certainly feature players like that and can help you get into your second half of the season in your fantasy leagues and hopefully get you a win there. All right, on that note, I'm going to sign off, and I'll be back tomorrow night.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.